Hi guys, my name is Ryan, and I was the Module 4 Literature Circle lead for my group. I'm in the story of Frankenstein in Baghdad. So the passage I said I choose, Elishfa no longer shared with anyone her belief that Daniel was still alive. She just wanted to hear the voice of Matilda or Hilda because they would put up with her, however strange the idea of hers. The two daughters knew their mother clung to the memory of her late son to go on living. There was no harm in humoring her. That was on page 17. First, this passage stands out to me because it's one of the many examples of the grief and struggle that Elishfa holds on to when thinking that her son's still alive. Throughout the story, this is something that's kind of highlighted that, Elishfa is this is an internal battle she struggles with, that she thinks her son's, she's positive and she knows her son's still alive. When realistically, her son's been lost, hasn't been found, has been gone for many years, no sight of him. The people in the town all think she's crazy. They call her like a witch and a crazy person and kind of make her seem stupid that she has this idea that her son's still alive, but she still holds on to the fact of this. And like I said, this relates to I say my passion, this relates to the real world. Mothers, who lose someone in war or lose someone in general, like they hold on to that thought that like they don't think they're gone, and it's hard to finally realize that this person is gone. Even in deaths in general, everyone struggles with that. Like you lose someone, it doesn't feel real, and so one day you finally realize that, it is real and you don't have them anymore. Another reason I chose this passage was because it kind of shows the cool family connection that she has. Her two daughters most likely think that their brother's not alive, and they know realistically he's probably never coming back. But they don't let their mother think that. They help their mother. They kind of feed into the fact that we still think he's still alive. We still think they still have this positive attitude with her. And they don't doubt her. They don't hate on her for having this thought. They kind of sit there and guide her through it and help her, which I think is really cool because it shows like the deep connection her family has. When all these people from the outside are judging Elishfa, that her two daughters stick with her and don't let her think that her son's still there, because they know that this is kind of what keeps her life going. This thought that her son's still alive and is coming back is something that has a little bit of a positive aspect, I think, in Elishfa's life, that keeps her going. Because if she doesn't have this thought, who knows what if she'd still be alive or things like that. I really think that the thought keeps her positive throughout the story and keeps her going throughout the story. And like I said, it'd be easy for a family just to agree with the outside world, but they keep this love for their mother. They don't let that affect the outside world. This relates to real life in a lot of ways. Like I said earlier, mothers lose people all the time, lose their sons, daughters all the time, and they really struggle with that thought that they're not there, and it kind of affects their life. That they're not gone, it kind of affects their life. It could affect their whole life for many years. They finally struggle with that thought of they're never getting this person back and they're gone. And I think like an example of mothers holding on this is good is like maybe when people get kidnapped in today's world, like mothers or any family members don't really think that the person's gone, whether they're gone for 10 years, and they don't ever give up looking for them or trying to find them. They're still putting up the signs, they're still going to the police, they're still reaching out to the community, trying to find their daughter or son. And that kind of just made me, examples of that kind of made me think of this story, like how Elishfa never gives up on this thought that he's coming back, similar to that in a sense. The question I asked the class was, what role does meeting her grandson play in Elishfa's mindset around the situation with their son? My answer to that would be when she meets her grandson, it kind of changed her aspect on life. She seems like she's finally able to let go of this grief that she has of her son, and she's finally able to move on, go throughout her life. It's in the story like she's finally ready to let go of this thought and move on with her life, with her two daughters. And it's finally it's kind of like clarity for her meeting her grandson, I would say. Reading my discussion post, they all had really good, reading my classmates' replies, they all had, I only had two of them, but they both had some good insight. And one thing that really stood out to me was a quote that one of my classmates used, that in the story, it kind of, these were valuable things that mattered in her life, not just fantasy in her head, and she was willing to do anything to preserve them. And that was, Elishfa's thoughts on her son. And that relates to kind of what I said. It's like, she's not going to give up on these thoughts. It's something that, she doesn't think that it's not real. And I think that kind of shows you how important her son was to her, like that she's not willing to let go of the thought that he's gone or he's dead or anything like that. that relates to what I said about, the love that is kind of shown in this family with the two daughters of hers, kind of like that she has for her son. She's not willing to let this thought go, and she's willing to do anything to preserve them, preserve this thought in her head. Because I think if she realizes if she lets this thought go, um, she has nothing to live for in a sense. I kind of get from that. And that's one big thing that came up throughout the discussion. I thought was probably the biggest thing that stood out to me was that quote, because it kind of shows you another example of Alicia's grief and her thoughts on her, son who is not most likely not coming back. But I think the discussion went well, and everyone had really good insight on, the kind of real life situations like the kidnapping and how mothers really don't give up on their mothers. Always have this grief when someone dies in war, and that kind of stuff like that, and the sadness, and we kind of talked about the sadness in the story and how obviously a rough time in Iraq at the time and a lot of bad things happening. But like I said, I kind of took from it that she had this positive outlook that her son was still alive, and it kind of kept her going. But yeah, that was it.